Hi and welcome to the second boss guide in the Death Knight wing. This will be on Gothikk the Harvester. This fight is incredibly similar to Razorgore, and you'll have the same amount of confusion as you did the first time you faced Razorgore in Blackwing Lair. The fight is split up into two rooms, the living side and undead side. Now what you want to do is you want to have three tanks, or three warriors on the living side, ready to tank here, and you want three on this side, on the undead side as well, also ready to tank. Other than that, you want to split healers up into two groups, so you have similar amount of healers on living, similar amount on undead. Now the reason for this is that once this fight starts, this middle gate here, this will be closed, so you can't reconnect or swap people out during the fight. Most of the undead mobs are immune to magic damage, so you want your casters on the living side and you want your melee on the undead side, just to make sure that everything is sort of correctly split. If you have a bit of extra DPS, it's better to put it on the undead side than it is to put it on the living side, simply because undead is the hardest one of the two. The fight is started by you engaging Gothikk, so someone goes up, shoots him in the face, and he stays up on his balcony, and then he will start summoning ads. He'll summon them from these three platforms, and once you kill a mob, it will then go to the side and have a corresponding undead version of itself. Now you'll face three different types of mobs on living side, and they'll be killed in this order. Have Unrelenting Rider, which is a horseman type mob. You'll have an Unrelenting Death Knight, which is a warrior type mob, which does a intercept, much like warriors, and something called Shadow Mark, which is a whirlwind. You'll also see these mobs leading up to Gothikk. And the last one is Unrelenting Trainee, which is also a warrior mob, does rend and does a knockdown. The horseman is by far the most lethal one of them, has an Unholy Aura, which does AoE shadow damage around it, and also Shadow Ball Volley. These need to be killed as soon as they spawn, and they won't spawn till a bit later in the ad phase. Unrelenting ones are the least lethal ones, as they only have a rend and a knockdown. They can be slowed, they can be CC'd. The same for the Death Knight, can also be slowed and CC'd. This is another good reason for having casters on the left hand side, as you can have mages use Frost Nova in case something goes out of hand. Now, once an Unrelenting Rider dies, it will turn spectral, and you will see it will slide around the edge of this balcony over to the undead side, and it will then turn into a spectral rider and a spectral horse, which need to be tanked and killed. A spectral death knight, sorry, and a spectral horse, obviously. The kill order for the undead side is almost the reverse order, so the spectral or the Unrelenting Trainee becomes a spectral trainee that then has to die first. The reason for this is that it does Arcane Explosion. Now, Arcane Explosion isn't too lethal on its own, but as you're stacking melee heavy, most people on the undead side will be hit by this, so it's important that you keep rate damage to a minimum by killing these first. Luckily, they can be stunned, so you can stun them as you kill them. It's a good idea for warriors on this side to intercept the trainees, nuke them down. They're very little health, so it shouldn't take long to kill them. Then you also have the Spectral Rider, which has the Death Knight abilities, where they whirlwind, they cleave, they sunder armor, and they will do a mana burn. This is another reason why you wouldn't want too many of your casters on the undead side, other than the undead also being immune to most magic. It's a good idea for these to be stunned by rogues, so as soon as someone spawns, have a rogue stun lock these using Kidney Shot. This will be assigned by rogue class leader, so just follow the class leader's advice there. You also have Spectral Death Knight, which has the Unholy Aura from before, and also has a Life Drain. Life Drain should be interrupted by anyone, and this mob is immune to stun, so don't waste a stun on this mob. Lastly, we have the Spectral Horse, which has a Stomp, which is a single target hit, and it does a bit of damage, but also slows the person that it hits. It's more of a nuisance than anything, so they have the least priority. Now, the main goal of this is to communicate throughout the entire fight to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed. So it makes no sense for the living side to nuke everything as soon as it lands if the undead side is already getting overrun. So make sure the communication is key, call out on undead side especially if you're getting overrun for living side to slow down. If that happens, living side can start CCing the mobs on their side instead of killing them. Now I can't show you both of these sides at the same time, and it might bug out a little bit because I'm doing this solo on retail, but I'll show you the main mechanics of the fight, and I'll show you what it looks like when the mobs travel to the other side. So here we go, engage the fight. Now again, as I said previously in other videos, the skins for these will be a bit different, simply because retail has different models. New models were introduced in Wrath of the Lich King, so mobs will look a tiny bit different once we get to do this on Classic. Names might also differ a little bit, simply because of how they decided to rename some of the mobs in Wrath of the Lich King and later stages. But yeah, so these mobs won't actually look like this, but it's same name and same set of mechanics. So you just kill these. There we go, killing these off. And there we go. A soul traveling over. So see the main gate here is closed. They land in one of these piles around the room. And here we go, there's a spectral trainee. So this is basically what you want to do throughout this entire thing. I'm just going to keep killing these. They go up these skulls, they land on either side. And then it's supposed to be the melee group that kills these, obviously. I'm just going to keep killing. Here we go, here we have the Death Knight. Again, remember, skins differ. Armor especially, armor is going to be a bit different looking. Just going to kill these up. So it's going to continue to spawn these. After 4.5 minutes of spawning, Gothikk will come down. He'll start on the living side, whilst the gate is still closed. Now, what you want to do here is just nuke him. He does very little damage, and once you get to that stage, this fight should basically be over. But it is a DPS race from there. So he'll cast an ability called Harvest Soul, which reduces max health and max mana by 10%, stacking up to 100 if he's alive for long enough. This shouldn't be relevant at all, and once he hits 30%, the middle gate will open, both sides can join, and you nuke him from 30%. Save a big cooldown for the second phase when he's on the ground though, just to make sure that we really burn him fast. I'm not entirely sure on the tuning of this, but this should be a fairly straightforward fight as long as communication is key. Is good, sorry, because communication is key. So here we go. I have all these joining in. You can see the arcane explosions going out. So now the gate is open because of me doing this solo. Normally it wouldn't. So just imagine this gate will be closed at all times. You see the stomp. Doesn't even stun me, it just slows me, which is more annoying than anything. We do need to keep the Death Knights, the Spectral Death Knights, however, faced away because they have all the AoE abilities. So just make sure that you're not turning these onto the raid with melee being on the other side, as a lot of people will be hit by cleave. There's a lot of healing going on in this fight, so don't stress your healers more than you need to. Just waiting for all the mobs to have spawned. DBM should show you, at least it did in Wrath of the Lich King, what is going to spawn on the wave. I fully expect that to also be implemented in the classic one, as it's the same order of mobs every single time. They'll know what wave is what. Okay, I think that's it. Now Gothikk should appear down here in a second. And he'll just start casting Shadow Bolt. Like it's not difficult at this point. Join through the gate, kill the boss, get loot.